Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We're glad to be here with you. And good morning, Raimi and Jessica. And good morning to April Alexander, everyone. I hope you enjoy April being with us today. I know we will enjoy visiting with her, and I'm going to read her bio here. April Alexander is a passionate community herbalist and visionary behind her business, Blooming Curiosity. She has dedicated nearly a decade to educating others about natural living. With a deep-rooted love for nature instilled since childhood, April shares traditional herbal knowledge and fosters community through her dynamic presentations and teachings, drawing from her extensive training with renowned herbalists like Rosemary Gladstar and Gilday. Connect with her at Blooming Curiosity on social media or visit blooming-curiosity.com to explore the wonders of the natural world with her.
Yes, thank you.
And that's
Awesome.
beautiful. Oh, sorry, here my thing wasn't working. Thanks so much for joining us today, April. I don't know where to start. I want to throw something out there for later, just so it's in your mind as you're thinking, because you do education and training. I'd love for you to educate us on, say, an herb of your choice today, or something that you'd like to educate us on. But in the meantime, let's start like you said, the deep love for nature since childhood. And could you maybe tell us how you got into being a master herbalist then?
Well, I had a daughter that got a double ear infection, and both of her eardrums ruptured. And so from there, I was panicking because when I was a kid, I was on antibiotics all the time, and I had spent many years rebuilding my gut and all kinds of things from it. And so I was really upset. So I called my naturopathic doctor and asked her, can she help me? Can she help me? And she did. And luckily enough, I was still nursing at the time. And so she gave me the herbs, and it went through my breast milk to my daughter. And within 2 days, her ear stopped leaking. And within a week, she was back to normal. And I was like, that's it. I am sold. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I was like, I had no idea that you can use something other than antibiotics. I was like, oh my goodness, I am totally in. Because if it's nature, it's for me. So that's how that journey has started. And then I read every book I could, and, it took me a while to go study with an actual herbalist, but I started reading all kinds of stuff. Before then, I used to dabble. I would go to the health food store, and if I had a rash, I'd go get some, oh, this soap's good for the rash, or, oh, this is a good toothpaste, But that's what really drove me into being, an herbalist. So.
How old is your daughter now?
She's going to be 17.
Yeah, great. Wow. And where do you live?
I live in New York. Yeah.
Oh, upstate?
I live on the east end of Long Island and not on the Hampton side. That's what I tell everybody. I'm closer to Connecticut. Yeah.
Ah, very good. Very good. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's
we still have farms out here, which is
lots of farms.
Yeah.
Good.
People think of New York and they think brick city.
Right.
Yeah, New York is beautiful. Mm-hmm. Just especially upstate in your area as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Beautiful. I was telling a older neighbor of mine here, she was asking, well, what are you doing tomorrow? I was visiting with her yesterday evening, and I was telling her about you, April, being our guest on our podcast. And her question was, well, how is the weather up there? How is it good for herbs? Or what's the best weather that you have there that's for herbs? That was her question, because we were talking about weather here. So
I think, well, on Long Island, it's pretty lush and green outside now. So it's not, we're not dry, it's humid in the summer for sure. And I don't know if there's any best herb to do. I think that a lot of herbs definitely grow in our area, but a lot of our medicinals, because of farming, have been wiped out of the natural landscape unless somebody has planted them there because of the farming kind of, especially with like, a lot of at-risk medicinals and stuff like that. They kind of lose their habitat because of they have a very special niche and what kind of microbiome they like in their soil. So they're very specially niched. So when, like the ginsengs and the golden seals and all of that kind of disappear after the farming comes. Lady slippers.
Oh, yeah. A couple years ago, we had ordered the ginseng root and what was the other one that you'd
Golden
mentioned?
seal.
Yeah,
Golden
golden
seal.
seal. We had ordered those, and we were gonna, and we ordered a book that was written, to help with their habitat and how to do it, and then we didn't get as far as we wanted during the garden season to be ready for it, so we canceled the order. But eventually, we kind of hope to be able to do that. The same way with mushrooms, we had grown edible mushrooms at different times just in our yard. But again, you have to have really just the right habitat.
Yeah, it all depends. And not only that, but there's a lot of microclimates on Long Island too. So it's like just because it grows good here, it doesn't mean it grows good somewhere else. It all depends on because I have water on two sides of me, so I have a bay and a sound, and so it all depends on where you are in that climate. It's so funny because there's sometimes I go to one house and I'm like, wow, they're a week behind that house. That's only like 5-minute drive. So it's really kind of interesting to understand those microclimates too.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, that 5 minutes would make a big difference like that. Yeah.
Yeah, even in my yard, I have a clay vein, and then one side of my yard is sandy and the other side has a clay vein. So it's really, it all depends. And when your island is made from a glacier, you you never know what you're gonna get.
Well, that's true. Yeah, moving stuff around. Yeah,
Yep, for sure.
interesting. We kind of have that in our yard too, a little bit. The water table is very high here, and so
Mhm.
maybe 6 foot down. And some places it's only in the yard maybe a foot. At places that it stays just wet all summer, just under that one particular plant. You have to be real careful what you put into that
Yeah,
little area. But it's just a real small area, but for some reason.
calamus root. You could put calamus root there. They like it wet.
That's interesting. I'll write that down. Calamus root.
Yep.
Thank you.
April, did you grow up there or?
I actually was born in California, and then I
my
moved out here when I was 10 months old, but my parents met in the Navy. So my dad was from the West Coast. My mom was from the East Coast. So I'm always like, I was bi-coastal. I had to travel a long way to see either one. California Girls was my favorite, song growing up. I was like, put my song on. They're talking about me.
Oh, that's cute. So what's your favorite herb to grow then?
Calendula is probably my most favorite plant to grow. Calendula, it's kind of like, it looks like calendar, like, so it blooms it can bloom every month in the calendar year. It's a really good vulnerary, which a vulnerary is good for healing of the skin, both inside and out. So it's really good for people with IBS. You can eat the petals. You can drink a tea. You can, because even though our intestines are, inside of us, they're actually outside of us. A lot of people have a hard time wrapping their mind around this because it's a hole from one end to the other, right? Mm-hmm. So it's actually outside of our body until it gets absorbed into our body. So it's really kind of an interesting thing, and it's really great for mucous membranes in places where the sun doesn't shine. It's really great for children. It's good for adults. It's a really versatile plant, and it's really easy to grow. It's as long as you don't have an Asteraceae family allergy, because it's in that daisy family, you will be good to go. It's like the be all end all plant. And not only that, but to see that yellow flower is always so happy. It's like, oh my goodness, I love that yellow plant.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I have it in my garden, and that was the reaction. I had my little granddaughter on Friday, and that was her reaction. She made a beeline to one of the calendula plants that had flowers on it. That's what she wanted.
Yes.
the
Yes.
yellow flower to hold.
I mean, it's sad when you have to pick them because you have to pick them every 2 days, and then you don't have any more yellow flowers. But then 2 days later, they come right back, and they make your fingers all nice and sticky. That beautiful resin is part of its healing properties.
Now I've heard that the herbalist that I follow is Doc Jones out of Idaho. I don't know if you're familiar with Doc Jones. Patrick Jones. And he had said in his area anyway, calendula, you never have to reseed, that it always comes back up. I haven't had too much luck. I just, sometimes I have a couple volunteer plants this year, but usually to get as much as I want, I have to reseed.
I usually keep one plant that I allow go to seed pretty early in the spring, just because sometimes if you wait until the fall to let those plants go back, go back to the earth, then they don't always necessarily get pollinated. So I usually keep one plant where I can just keep the seeds from it and just kind of let it go to town. But other than that, I pick them pretty much every other day. I'm out there picking them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Very nice.
But it's so nice. I don't know. There's just something that's so makes me smile when I see calendula.
Right. Yeah. One of the plants that makes me smile a lot is I love passion flower. I don't know, and I have it on a not a trellis, an arbor, right? And I was out there this morning, and I don't know, it's just something about it. Doesn't have to be flowering, and it's just something that makes me happy.
I've planted it a couple of times here, but it always dies back. It always dies. So, because we're zone 7B, so it's I don't know what that B means now because everything's changing. But obviously, it doesn't make it in ours. We're right on that cusp of how far you can plant the passion flower.
I would think this one would work because we're in zone 5, and it overwinters easily here.
I wonder what variety it is.
I don't know. I will try. I have one that I dug up and potted because they come up. It's pretty invasive, right? But I don't care. You just pull them out.
Yeah.
And so I rooted some in a pot, so I have it just sitting there. I'll send it to you. How's that?
Oh, nice. I like that.
I'll see if you can grow it up there.
Yeah, it'll be good. Sharing plants across America.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And I'm trying something different with it. It was, I'm sorry, Remy, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, do you have a business now with herbs?
I do. So that's my Blooming Curiosity business.
And
so I teach classes and workshops, and I also do one-on-one clients. So I do consultations. I do them both online and in person.
Yeah. So what?
One of these days I'll have an online class.
Yeah.
That's my next step. That's my next thing to learn. But technology always eludes me. So
what type of classes or what type of herbal things?
I like to do a lot of workshops because I like to get people's hands. I like to do herb walks and workshops because I really want people immersed in the earth. Because I feel like when we have a connection with the earth in some way, we have a remembering of a life that we had in our ancestors somehow. It's almost like learning how to cook. It's like, oh wait, I know how to cook now, and something livens in you once you start cooking, so it's almost like it's in our DNA to be in the soil with our hands and in the kitchens with, cooking. My two favorite things to do. Eat and plant.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah.
April, do you have a certification program yourself, or
I do. So
you do? Okay.
Yeah. It's actually using Rosemary Gladstar's spine, but then she doesn't actually teach classes anymore. So she has an online program, and she also has the written one. But I actually teach that in person so that, people can actually talk to somebody and actually get hands-on. I mean, they do have a forum, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same as talking to somebody about it.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I have a post-baccalaureate in herbal studies from Maryland University of Integrative Health, and Rosemary Gladstar was one of the professors for that, teachers for that. But I've never gone on to get my herbalist or anything. Someday.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, once you start saying yes to the plants, you just can never stop. That's kind of how it works. They keep calling you. I mean, I've been woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, come help me. And I'm like, oh, you know, and it's like, what are you doing now? I'm like, I'm going out to see the plants. They're calling me in my sleep. You know?
And what do they need in the middle of the night?
Well,
What do you find
this particular time, it was ghost pipe. So ghost pipe is a rare kind of like, it's not necessarily a mushroom, and it's not necessarily I don't know exactly, it's called monotropia. So it's a really rare plant, and it was growing in my yard for a while, and it's a parasitic plant. It pops up sometimes. It doesn't have any chlorophyll. It's really kind of an interesting thing. It almost looks like a seahorse head. It's a really cool plant, and it's a very, very small micro, you know, like you only use like 1 drop. It's not like a high dose plant, but what happened was I had it in my front yard, and I was like, oh, there it is. Maybe I should harvest some. And then I was like, nah, I'll just leave it. And then I was like, then I saw it in my backyard, and it was growing in circles. And I was like, oh, maybe I should harvest those. And they were a little pink too. So I was like, maybe I should harvest those. And then I was like, nah, I'll just leave them because I know they're endangered. And, so I don't really want to do that. But they woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and was like, you have to come outside right now and harvest me and make a tincture out of me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what are you kidding? And the ghost pipe was like, yes, you have to come outside right now. And I'm like, all right. So I have a hat with like, that has like lights on it. Mm-hmm. And there I was, 3:30 in the morning, going out there and harvesting ghost pipe.
Well, that's so beautiful. No, that you tie it in. You have a high intuition, and that you're tying it in with that. Oh, that is awesome. That is really
cool. And it made the most beautiful tincture I ever saw.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's weird because it's not even like colorful, but it makes a beautiful purple tincture. Yeah.
Huh.
So what do you use it for?
So it actually separates you from the pain, whether it's emotional, physical pain. It'll actually give you some sort of separation in between you and the pain.
Oh, that's neat.
Isn't it? Like it doesn't actually stop the pain, but it somehow gives you that separation between
a little space. So like,
so it's like, oh, it still hurts, but it's not like in your face. It's almost like it gives you relief in a strange way. It's really hard to explain.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's like, all right, I'll give you a respite for a moment. Yeah.
That's kind of like fentanyl and morphine in the hospital. So giving those, people will say sometimes, not all the time, that, the pain, they can still feel the pain, but they don't care. Right. Is kind of how you kind of describe it.
Yeah.
In some people. So that kind of reminds me of a much better version.
Yes. And I wonder, I do wonder, like, what is the derivatives of fentanyl or morphine? So it's like if valerian is the derivative of Valium, like what is that? Like they're getting most of the pharmaceuticals from plant-based.
They are more than half. Yeah, more than half. Yeah.
So I mean, like morphine comes from the poppy, I'm sure, like Ethiopian poppy.
Well, and even passion flower, right? It's a nervine that is derived from the passion flower leaf that they now make the chemical version of. I don't remember the name for that, but it was popular when I worked in the nursing homes because a lot of the elderly would have
adverse reactions.
It wasn't and it wasn't a pain that doctors could specify, where it came from or what was causing it, but yet they felt it. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times it was very helpful for them.
Yeah.
I have to try to remember.
It's really kind of an interesting, but I'm always like, if the plant's been there for so long, let's just go back to, the original. Because, it has all these different constituents in it. It's not just one component, and they really don't even know what the one active component is. You can't, like us, we can't be like, we can't have a reductionist model of health, because it just doesn't work. We're a body system, and one system is connected to the next, it's connected to the next. And I feel like that's the same way with the plants. It's a system that's connected, and it's been here for a long time, and it's been adapting and changing, in a way that's good for us. And, Rosemary always teaches that the plants that show up in your yard is the plants that you need the most, and everybody has plantain in their front yard, but plantain is only known for like bug bites, but there's so much more to plantain than just bug bites.
So yeah, I use plantain in herbal salve, like, for skin, for healing, things. I tried it last night. I have something going on with my eyelid. It's as if maybe an ingrown hair or something, and it seems to be just in the top eyelid, but it's kind of swollen, like. And so I thought, well, plantain draws out stuff. Maybe it would draw out any infection from it. And I wasn't exactly sure. I haven't had to use it on a snake bite, and I haven't tried it on mosquito bites, just because. I just use my salve on that I've made instead of the plant itself. So what I did, I just kind of clipped it in, used my herb scissors and clipped it in pieces and put a tiny bit of water and just pasted it on there for
perfect.
a bit. Is that how I should have done it?
Yeah, it's a focus.
Or
it'll help.
Or I've heard also, okay.
And you can put warm water. Yeah, you can put, like warm water on there, or warm compress over it too. So that way it'll, get into your skin more.
Okay. I'll try that later today. I just did it when I was taking a bath. I just laid back and put it up there, and then I ended up with
also good for.
Okay.
Chamomile is also good for eyes. Any infections on the eyes too.
Okay, I'll try that too. And
it's
that's what I've been using.
You want pink eye gone in a day? Chamomile tea. I'm not kidding.
Awesome.
Every time.
Yeah.
My kids would get pink eye. Well, chamomile 3 times, and that was it.
Wow. That's good to know. Yeah. I haven't tried that for that either. Yeah.
See, you never know. You can learn
a wealth of information. Yeah, the plantain is just huge in my yard. Like the leaves are like this, because we've had so much rain this year. They're huge like this. They're just so big.
Great. Just keep picking it.
It is. And yarrow all over the place, right? Yeah. Wonderful stuff.
You guys have roses there too?
Mm-hmm.
Roses,
like we have a lot of Rosa rugosa. Yeah. We have yarrow growing now. We have Rosa rugosa, which is like a beach rose.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's one of the only roses around here that smell. I always stop to smell the roses wherever I go. My kids are always yelling at me because I always want to see if they smell. I'm always like, I love roses, but most of them don't smell anymore. They're just bred for color or look, or I'm like, I just want a rose that smells.
Right. Yeah. I have kind of a climbing red rose. It's little miniature roses. Well, it's not a miniature plant, but it's very tiny roses in big clusters, and but that smells a lot. Then I have pink. I call them maybe pixie roses. Again, they're not quite miniature, but they're a small shrub rose that gets bigger through the years. But it doesn't smell as much, but there's still some. I keep being tempted to get larger roses, standard size roses that have a lot of scent with them, or for the hips. I'm thinking, well, maybe, it would be good to have a real hippie rose. So just to save the hips for the vitamin C that's in them.
Right. Well, a lot of the times the rose hips get eaten by the birds here before you ever get a chance to, because you're supposed to harvest the rose hips like after the first frost. By then, the birds have already eaten them.
Oh, okay.
Got good, healthy birds.
I know. We have an invasive variety called the rose multiflora, and those hips seems to stay on. So if, I really need hips, I just cut them off. They're little, so I don't really, a lot of people don't want to deal with them, but I don't mind. If you need hips, you need hips. And I actually like them smaller because then, the seeds aren't as well. If you bite into them, the seeds aren't and there's not as much of hair, because in the seed pod there's usually hairs in the hips, and those hairs can be irritating. So I don't know how people process rose hips. It still eludes me to this day, because I'm like, how do they get that hairy? Because as soon as you open even a big rose hip, there's like this hairline in there around the seeds, and I don't know how they get it out. I was like, I'll just buy my rose hips. They must have a special machine for that or something.
They must.
You know? Because it's like, I don't know how they get it out. But you can always cook, with the little hips, I just steep them whole, and then I don't have to worry about the hair pods or anything, and you're still getting the vitamin C.
So, how else do you use your intuition with your herbalism and your garden?
I'm like this. So did you ever see like Mr. Megorium's Magic Emporium? So he's like, well, anyway, she's always playing the piano because she was a pianist before she worked there. And so she's always doing this. And then she kind of like intuitively picks things for people. And she's like, oh, this is the toy that you should get, for your grandson or whatever. And so that's kind of how I choose everything. I use myself almost as a dowser. It's like, oh, that's the one I need. That's the one I need. And I don't really know.
You're just feeling the energy connection.
Exactly. It's
in
just
your
like,
hands.
this is the one that I need. Even when I'm picking, like I always ask permission, but I don't ever pick. Like I don't go right up to it and just pick it. I'm always like, is this really the one? And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is really the one. It's like, like when you pick your friends, you don't just go up to them and say, oh, you have great hair. Can I put it on my head? You stop and you're like, so, your name's Jessica, can I see your hair? What color is that? maybe they have a dye clip for that one now, like they do with paint. You never know. You get to know somebody first. Like, where do you live? What do you do? So that's kind of how I meet my plants. I don't, And Rosemary teaches that a lot. She teaches about sitting with the plants and, getting to know them before you just go and pick them.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really thought about it before, because like when I was a kid, I used to pick like those maple leaf noses out of the trees, and I used to do all kinds of things, but I never thought about permission. It's like in our society, we're taught that nature doesn't have a voice, so we can just take whatever we want. But it really does. You just have to quiet and listen.
I think nature understands the innocence of children, though, and the curiosity and the beauty of their
energy. Well, and they're much more connected than we are.
Right.
They just came from the womb not too long ago. They haven't been conditioned by the normalcy of society and what is deemed normal. They're not indoctrinated yet, I guess is the word.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like our job is to just live as children.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, in many ways.
Like, oh, your friend's mean to you. It's like 2 seconds later, they're like best friends again. It's like, can't we get over stuff like that as quick? Like, yeah, what's the big deal? You push me down, I scrape my knee. All right, I'm done crying. Let's go play. Yep.
In your when you're working with, say, a client or patient, whatever you call them, do you tend to be more of like a simple, like just one herb with a person when they're dealing with something, or do you use like multiple, or again just by intuition? But what tends to be your go-to?
I typically go for one and then add more. So then I formulate from there. Typically, I try to find the root cause, obviously, to begin with. And it's really kind of funny because I really like to meet whole families and not necessarily just the one person I'm working with, because you really get a better view of how that person is. Because it's like, we all have blind spots about ourselves. So it's really nice to be able to, like I had one woman that, I said, so how are your bowel movements? And she's like, oh, they're great. And her daughter was like, Mom, they're not. They're like rocks. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, but that's normal for me, And I was like, oh, okay. So it's really kind of just a matter of perspective, and I'm not in there in the bathroom looking at their, but their kids are. So it's, and they always rat them out. It's really kind of funny.
Yeah.
Especially if they're little. If they're big, that it's sometimes harder to get it out, but you definitely get a much more rounded picture when there's more than one person in the room to, get an assessment. Yeah, but a lot of it is, typically finding the root cause. And what I find lately is it's a lot of heartbreak. There's a lot of grief, undealt with grief that's happening out there. It's like, can we just slip hawthorn in the water, please?
Yeah.
Can we please, or linden, or like something to, roses, let's just slip that all in the water for a little while, because it's like, just take a breath for a second. I feel like we've been like human doings instead of human beings, and so it's hard to get people to be human beings once again.
Yeah.
After all the trauma, my biggest thing is turn the TV off.
Absolutely. Yeah, we haven't even had a TV in our house for 15 years, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes going to bed real easy.
Well, computer kind of serves the same purpose that way. It's like, it's hard to quit sometimes, right? There's always another really good podcast with good information, or I just want to accomplish one more thing, but I can usually turn it off. But the trick
You're
is
putting you on a time limit, Carla.
Yes, that's it. Well, or the trick is to disengage from the computer an hour ahead of time. Right? Because if I stay on it until, say, right before I get ready for bed, then it's like I get into bed and my mind is still thinking, even if I'm not, worried about something or anything. And even if I don't know what's going on, it's like, those thinking processes are still going on and on and on. And I can't get to sleep right away. So, but if I turn off the computer an hour or hour and a half from beforehand, then it's much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Technology is meant to keep us in our heads and keep us disillusioned. It's meant to separate us and just keep us out of our hearts. So when you look at it that way and you think about it that way, not that, unfortunately we're in a technological world, but it's like, I always try to like decompress after being on there. I go like put my feet on the earth, or I have an earthing blanket that I sleep with. So I really feel it's important to discharge that energy. And be
I have a question. I have a question for you so I tried an earthing blanket back in, I think it was 2016. I tried it. And I don't know if Carla and Rami, if you guys have tried the actual earthing blankets or not, but plugged it in, did everything appropriately with the grounding, rod and all that stuff. And I had the most extreme vivid nightmares that I've ever had in my entire life. And it was like demons and all sorts of really evil things. And so, and I was just kind of starting my delving more into health, holistic stuff. But I thought, maybe do I need to detox? I mean, what's inside me that's maybe coming out?
I think it's like your body separates from the soul. And when you become aware and you start becoming more in tune with nature and other things, you don't know what dimension your soul went to. And the fourth dimension is very chaotic. It's very chaotic. And the fourth dimension is the dimension right above ours. So it's, it's bringing your soul back through all those dimensions to bring it back into your body. Because I had a teacher, her name was Rocio Alicorn, and she's from Ecuador, and she talks about a susto. So a susto is when you have a trauma and your body, your soul leaves your body. And it happens sometimes, like you're driving and all of a sudden a car pulls out in front of you and it's like, you slam on the brakes, and that feeling, that adrenaline that's pumping, that's your, that's your soul leaving the body. So if you don't allow time for your body to calm down, your soul's not going to come back. And so a lot of people are living with their soul outside of their body. It's like,
or I find pieces of consciousness, not just stuck emotions, but separated soul energy, I guess you could see.
Right.
Most often I find them below the left foot in the human biofield,
Oh, that's
because
interesting.
that's the area that pertains to being stuck in a chaotic or toxic environment. And so that was the environment right when the separation occurred. And so you
Right.
have this little piece of you that's whatever age it was that you were when that happened,
Right.
that's not part of the whole anymore, that
Right. Right. It's like you
needs
took
to be
yourself from it.
integrated. Yeah.
It's almost
Did
like
you get rid of
individual.
the blanket, Jessica?
Yeah, I tried it. I didn't do it for a night then, and then I tried it again. It happened again. I waited a little bit, and then I tried it 3 times, and all 3 times it did that. And so I
Do
was
you
just
get
like,
that
I've
when you
got to
camp?
sleep.
Yeah.
What's
Do you
that?
get that when you camp? Do you get that when you camp
Uh-uh.
too? That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, no, I never did, because I grew up camping, real tent camping, and took my kids real tent camping throughout the years. And I ground, but I don't know. I thought maybe it had to do with something, the land that I was living on at that time, maybe something back
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
Those were the 2 ideas that I had. Just maybe I really needed to detox. I had a lot of stuff in me, or there was something with the land that I was living on.
Yeah.
The
And
ancestors
that's
there or
possible
something.
too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't used a grounding mat or grounding blanket since then. That's
I have
okay. I
one.
just go and ground.
If you give these nightmares, I'll pass, right?
Right. I need to sleep.
Yes, exactly. I'll take
I'll
sleep
find
over
another way to
nightmares.
connect. Yeah.
Yeah,
Find
exactly.
another. I'll go hug a tree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're happy to be hugged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a grounding mat.
Yours doesn't give you nightmares, Remy? Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I bought one for everyone in the family. This is like 5, 6, whatever years ago. They're like, they returned them. I think you're like, Mom.
Aw.
Yeah, it's all right. So I give them out as gifts. I gave Heath one, the owner of the club.
Good.
Yeah, he enjoys it. It helps if you're not getting nightmares.
Yeah,
It
I
really
believe
does. It really grounds you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I wonder too, like, was it because it was in the beginning of your journey?
Yeah.
Like what protections did you have around you then? Did you, like that kind of stuff too? Because, like doing all the healing work, you always have to put the protection around you first before you can go help anybody else. Because,
Yeah, I didn't have that.
stuff can jump off other people and try and get to you.
They have a grounding yoga mat, so I have that too, and that really
Awesome.
really helps. It's really good. Yeah, I don't take it with me to yoga classes, but at home I use it.
Maybe just fill an eye bag with some dirt, and just see if that helps you sleep.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's an idea.
that is fresh dirt.
that's what it is anyway. Right, exactly. And you know where the dirt is coming from. Just
Yeah, I'm
make
in a
sure that it's
different
not-
different location now. I don't know that I would pick the dirt from the
Right.
city market.
Oh, probably not. Probably not a good idea. But next time you go to the country, maybe.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, April and I have met online we're both taking a course, I guess you would call it a course of about from an astrologer. So we're learning about the zodiac energies and how they apply to our own energies and things like that. And so I was wondering, April, then, are you using any of the zodiac or constellation energies concerning your herbalism? I mean, when you're choosing stuff or growing things or
Sometimes
finding
I
things
do.
for people because of their zodiac signs.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. It all depends on the person. Not everybody is aware of it. So I always try to do like full moon to new moon when I'm doing my tinctures and stuff like that. Like when I'm, or the other way, like I always try to be mindful of what the moon is doing when I'm making my medicines, but I don't necessarily do it for a specific zodiac. Just because I think like astrology for me has always been this thing I've danced around. It hasn't been anything that I've jumped, both feet in. And it's funny because the other day I was thinking about astrology and I was dreaming about the zodiac and like the circle and, like how your natal chart looks. And it was funny because I was like, I wonder if your natal chart tells you what herbs you actually need. I'm sure there's somebody out there that, has done this or that, like, like it tells you, like I have a friend who's a medical astrologer and it'll tell you like what you'll be prone to, so it's like, I wonder if it would just tell you like what herbs would be good for you too. And I wonder if it would like enhance it if you, picked it during Gemini season or, like some things they're not in season when the actual zodiac is there, but right.
Yeah.
But like the moon and the sun, you can get it in there, but you can't always get the moon and the sun in the same sign as you would like for. But that's what spagyrics is all about. Like there's a couple of herbalists that do spagyric tinctures, which is all about doing it according to the zodiac, and then they do the alchemical process. So it's not just like a tincture as we know it. They actually then take the mark and then they put it in a big burning fire in a clay pot, and then they save those salts and they put that in the tincture too. So it's all the plant. It's really kind of an interesting process, but I think it's much more masculine than it is feminine.
Right. Now, what about flower essences? Do you use those in your healing work?
Yeah, I use those a lot actually, because I'm a flower essence practitioner. So I actually use them
you
a lot.
are? Okay.
Yeah. I
Well,
studied with Delta Gardens.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I studied with David Dalton at Delta Gardens and Kate Gilday also. And I really like flower essences because a lot of people are willing to take them and there's no counterindications. So that's even better. So if there's a person with a lot of medications, I'll actually give them the flower essence of a plant that I want to give them instead of the actual plant material, and see how that, affects them. And it's a gentler way to kind of like change their perception of what's going on, and be like, here. And they're much happier when they're like, oh, no counterindications. How great. They're much more apt to take them, and I make them. I have a bunch from different people that I've studied with, and yeah, I love flower essences.
Well, I'm trying one. It's been on my mind for probably a year now to try, or at least 6 months to try making herbal flower essences. So many of the ones that seem medicinal, that I've seen, that people use, just absolutely are not part of. They're all part of. Say you have to be around the equator or a very tropical country, and they're not. The extremes of weather like we get here in Kansas, right? And so, but I've been wanting to try. And so this morning I decided, well, this is a good time because then I could ask April if she would know about it. And so what I did, I just picked a little jar of, like a half a cup jar, canning jar size. And I took it out to my passion flower vine because they're blooming, and the Japanese beetles haven't hit them yet. The Japanese beetles have hit the grapes so far, but thankfully not the passion flower yet. So yeah, not yet. That's right. Otherwise they destroy the flowers. Then you can't get them. So what I did, I took this little jar and I kind of put it in a bag, and I tied the bag to the trellis, and then I put one flower down into the water, and so that it stayed in contact with the water. So how long do I leave it?
Well, if you can see energy, you can see the energy of the plant leaving, and then you can see when it dissipates.
Okay, so
I usually leave it. It depends on the plant. Some plants I've found that they take longer than others, and it all depends too on like you sitting with it. It's really kind of interesting because I find that if I sit with the plant and I make the flower essences, I sit there, it takes a lot less time than if I just kind of make the flower essence and go. So
Mhm.
sometimes what I'll
makes
do is
sense.
I'll
Yeah.
cut, like I'll cut the flower or whatever, and then I'll leave it by the tree or wherever it is. So it's still, the energy is still going in there, but it's not, but it takes a lot longer that way than if I sit there and, that's usually when I journal. It's usually when I journal
Okay.
and, like find things that are coming up for me. Like, I usually ask the tree plant, or whatever, the plant, a question like, what is this going to be good for? What kind of person am I looking for to utilize this? What can I do for you? Is there anything I can do better for you to take care of you? And then
Right.
I always give
Yeah.
an offering of tobacco or, corn or, something back. Sometimes I give my hair because I don't have anything with me, or I've even given my spit, like, thank you, because here's a part of me, you gave me a part of you. So it's kind of like that
Okay.
reciprocation.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I still have, because I was trained in production type horticulture. It's like I think of all the intuition and stuff because I work so much with intuition in my work, my biofield work and things. But when I go out in the garden, it's like sometimes I remember, or like when I'm walking, I definitely remember and tune into the universe. But so much of my garden work is still the get her done mode,
Yep.
right?
The
Mhm.
And
pedanticness of, be productive.
yes, yes. And like picking for herb for tinctures or things like that it's kind of a in between.
Mhm.
I'm not asking usually which leaf, and I usually don't think of leaving an offering, right? Or even directly asking, but
But you are
I know
tending, so you are
I
leaving an
know
offering in a way.
I know my vibration
Mhm.
is giving love and adoration, right? Because I adore the
Right.
plants
Yep.
and the attention and my love.
Right.
So I know they sense that and take that as permission, right? When I'm doing it, not just grab it and go
Right.
type of
Right.
thing.
hmm And even in the
So
grab it and go moments, I think the plants really want to give to us. They
they
really want
do.
to. They are so happy
That's
that, like, I just think of the giving tree all the time. I mean, that's really what the plants are. They'll give to their detriment because they really want the earth to survive. So when you think about that, it's like, I just have to say, even if, sometimes I do the same thing and then I come in and then I'm like, as I'm, cutting it or doing whatever, I'm like, thank
right.
you to, thank you, thank you, thank you, 'cause it's like, or I sing them a song. A lot of times I sing a song to them, you
Right,
know.
sure. Yeah, or
Yep.
I've done that too when um I'll ask the plant, or be talking to the plant and telling it thank you and stuff, and it's like all that it wants, say like when they're, especially when they're in full bloom
Mhm.
or in the full growth, it's like that vibe is
Oh
so
yeah.
much of the giving everything of itself. I mean, if you tune into just the vibration, it's like it's their offering
Singing.
to us,
Yep. It's
and
them
they
singing
want
aloud.
to help us. They want to help us, and
Absolutely.
um,
It's their
interesting.
full
But the
sexual
giving
expression.
tree,
Yep.
yes, yes, the giving
Mhm.
tree book, though,
Makes
I
me cry every time.
well, it does because I've given too much.
Mhm.
That's what I see. I don't see it
Yep.
as I didn't read it as one of my younger son brought it home from school time and time again. He really liked it. But it was like, so I would read it to him, but it would make me cry and it would go through all this junk. And I wasn't crying because the tree was so generous and nice and I appreciated the tree. No, it was like I saw myself as the tree giving so much until I was even cut down. I was even dead because
Absolutely.
I died inside, right?
Mhm.
And
Well, that's because that's what society tells us women to do. Now we have to have a job
yes,
and do our housework and do everything else. We're supposed to be these super women that stand all by ourselves, which is not true. We're community women. We're women of community that need to stand together and stand strong. And that's really what we need to be doing. It's like, where is the community of women? Because we changed the friggin' world. Mothers Against
and
Drunk Driving happened because of us, you
Mhm.
know?
and thankfully those things are becoming more the groups of women doing
Yeah.
positive
Mhm.
things together, committed to the positive. Um, because it's such a change, say like many years ago when I started working in a nursing home as an aide. And I had come from working in a business office with 2 or 3 men. And so I was used to how men worked and how they reacted to things. And it was very calm, right?
Mhm.
It was calm and methodical, and you worked together even if you didn't especially like someone, but you get the job done, right?
Right.
And I go, and my first day at the nursing home, surrounded by women, most of which were younger than I were as other aides. And I left that night and my jaw was like down to my feet. I was just totally overwhelmed because of all the backbiting and hate.
Mhm.
And yet they would turn and hug each other and say how what a good friend they are and how much they loved them. And then they would turn away into another group and
Talk
issue all
down.
this hate talk about them. And I never in my whole life had ever heard women talk to each other like that. And it was terrible.
Yeah. And I think,
It's
that's what school
hurtful.
indoctrinates girls to do,
Yeah,
That's
it
that's
is.
how it works at school. And it's like, why do people do that? 'Cause, why? Because they're afraid of our power. That's why. Because together we move mountains. And there's no killing a woman. We always come back. We're the forever phoenix. We're the forever phoenix rising. It's like no matter how bad and beaten, like you give a woman a seed and she makes the plant, right? You give, like it's so true. No matter we're given, we multiply it, so it's like always
This
have to be aware.
this reminds me of a story on NPR on Sunday, uh, the Moth Hour. Anyway, someone gets up and talks. This gal and her husband were driving in Florida, some event, and a sheriff got shot. So they took them in, these two people, because they were in the vicinity. And for sure they thought they'd be released.
Right.
Oh no. Oh no. They were jailed and sentenced to prison for many, many years, and even the husband got executed. But while she was in jail, she said she couldn't even put her arms out. There was just no space. And then she got transferred, and someone gave her a plant, a tomato plant. And she went outside with the permission of the jailer to plant this plant. And it brought such joy to all. I know it's going to make me cry. It brought such joy to the whole community of jailed women. Yeah. And so that's what that reminded me of. And she did eventually get out. She started her own business of, finding your true self and your true power. But that's what that story reminds me of. Women are so resilient. We always come back. We always find our way. Always. Always. So, yeah.
It is. And it took me a long time to find my circle of women, but slowly but surely I'm collecting them.
Yeah.
I'm a tribal person. I can't help it. I'm like, where's my community? Like you're a part of it. You're a part of it. Come on over. You need dinner anytime.
Well, we're not supposed to be alone. We're not. We're not. And I mean, I think that was evident in the COVID thing, when we were so isolated and dark and people dying, not because of COVID, it's because of loneliness.
Yeah.
I don't even know what COVID was really.
Yeah.
Just craziness. Toxicity. Yeah. But we're very tribal. We're supposed to be together. We're supposed to unite. Yeah. Hold hands. Sing.
Absolutely. All day long.
Yep.
I know. When I leave the herb conferences, I'm like high for like a week, just from hanging out with all those women. And, it's just so wonderful to be, it's so powerful and so wonderful to be with a community of women that it's, I never thought about how mind blowing that power can be when we hold each other up. And we, even in our differences, we just hold each other up. It's really powerful.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, that's a beautiful, beautiful note to end on. And April, thank you for your wisdom on so many topics that you shared with us today.
Thank you. Thank
And
you for
your
having me.
friendship, and please consider us part of your tribe.
Yes, please. Call me anytime.
All right. All right. Wonderful. So
Yes.
thank you so much. And we'll, yes, we'll look forward to having you again sometime.
Great. Thank you.
Especially in the winter. Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would.
To bring all this,
Bounty.
the warmth of spring and summer and herbs and flowers into our homes in the winter. Right.
That'd be a great idea.
So, okay, awesome. So we'll end there for today, unless anyone else, I'll give anyone else a chance to say anything if you'd like to. So, okay. All right. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. Leave your comments, and if you have any, and please like and subscribe to help other people find us too that might enjoy sharing this energy with us. So we'll see you next week.